welcome back to the highly anticipated return to Super Hell, aka the Mystery Spotcast, a show where two recovering Supernatural fans subject themselves to a rewatch so no one else ever has to watch Supernatural again. My name is Ollie. I use whatever pronouns, doesn't matter. My social media is at Ollie Fresh on basically every platform.
And my name is Klaudia. I'm at Klaudia Says on basically every platform. Kalludia says, and my pronouns are she, her. Hi, everyone.
It's been a while. So, listen, one thing about the Mysteries podcast is we love dropping off the face of the earth for a little bit. Like, that's like
kind
one
of
of my
like Dean
favorite.
Winchester.
Well, a lot like Dean Winchester. I've been having a hard time. Everything's okay. Had some really not fun family health crises. Everyone's okay now, but so just pulling back the curtain a little. If we are a little inconsistent, which, par for the course for us, that is why. But everything's okay.
Thank you
We're
guys
making
for
it
all of
happen.
your comments and things being like, oh, like, where's my favorite show? Whatever. Like,
Yeah.
we see them. We know. It's literally just because something hashtag happened to one of us
Yeah.
at any given moment. And we don't
Yeah.
want to, like, fill our social media with trauma dumping.
Yeah.
We do have to talk about two elephants in the room.
Guys, because it's been, I think the last time we recorded was in November, and it is now mid-late January. We'll see when this episode ends up coming out, if it's like this week or next
I hope
week.
it comes out in
Regardless.
June.
Yeah, this episode, we're recording on January 18th, dating us now. So it's gonna come out on September 28th, 2027. So jot that down. Anyway, yeah, a lot of stuff has happened.
In the world of queer media, something that Supernatural is unfortunately a part of.
In an insane roundabout way, somehow it's ended up there. A whole heated rivalry has come out in between our last recordings. A show that I have to admit, and cancel me, I still have not watched.
Yeah, we need to cancel Ollie. Ollie, it is worth your time in the sense that it is good television, not because it is yaoi.
My problem is, okay, here's my thing about it. I have not watched it because this may come as a shock to many. Romance is not my favorite genre of anything. Like, I don't mind romance. I can enjoy a good romance, but I feel like it's just not something I gravitate towards. Like, and I think the reason that shows like Supernatural, and I know I talk about 911 a lot, but the reason those get me so much is because it's like there's a romance like subplot.
Yeah.
And it's like you get it in like bits and pieces, and I'm not saying that like heated rivalry isn't compelling, but it's like I think I will watch it, I'm sure, eventually, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
I would say, like, for me personally, like, me and Claire talk about this a lot and how, like, they grew up reading romance novels and I grew up reading fan fiction. And, like, now I'll read a romance novel every now and again. Mostly when it's gay, I will read a BL. When it's gay, that kind of thing. But most of the romance content that I have consumed has been content about a piece of media where the plot is about something else. So I feel like I'm very similar. And
yeah,
so
that's where I'm at as well.
And also, when I've talked to people about this show, I think the interesting thing about it, like, it isn't that it's gay, it isn't that it's really explicit, it's that there isn't actually a lot of adaptation of romance media that is either not a romantic comedy, like, other than, like, Outlander and Bridgerton, what else? There's not a lot out there.
I totally agree, and I think and this is not me being the person who brings up anime, but it's kind of like how I feel like there's a lot of BLs that get adapted into anime, but there's not a lot of like Western romance novels that end up getting adapted into TV shows. So I do think this would be a cool like precedent to set. Like, I haven't watched Bridgerton. I low-key have beef with the first season of Bridgerton.
First season is ass.
Quite obvious reasons. Regé-Jean Page, you should be a huge star.
He's in a rom-com that will be coming out soon.
Yes. With Halle Bailey, right?
Yeah, I was like, I'm
my
seated.
God.
No, but
listen, I know I was like, I'm not that into rom-coms, but I'm like, I'll be seated for them.
When you mentioned BL anime, the funny thing is that, like, not a lot of BLs get adapted into anime because they tend to be more explicit. There are a lot of romance, manga, light novels, that kind of thing, manhwa even, that get adapted into certain things, usually the ones that are not as explicit, or the ones that are very explicit that become hentai. But the very interesting thing is that, like, romance novels, like, they're porn for women, which is fine, but they don't normally get adapted. So yeah, that was the interesting thing to me, and that maybe just because I'm, everyone else is like, "Woo, the hockey guys are fucking," and I'm like, "Romance media."
No,
um
it's such a conflicting thing because I feel like so much of my brand too is like here's the problem. I love romance, but I need it to be like I need to be drip fed it because I'm so used to not fan fiction, but I'm so used to like stuff that it's like this is never gonna be canon. Like I'm just playing with my dolls while the rest of the show figures out where it's at.
well,
So
I
it
think
is kind of like it's kind of exciting though. Like I think it is really cool, and like aside from like our personal tastes with the show, because like I said, I'm not like against heated rivalry. I'm not like anti. I just haven't had the chance to watch it because my dad had a stroke, but I don't want to dox him. Um, but I think that it is cool also that it's cool that it's based on a book. It's cool that it's bringing this kind of story to the forefront. But I think also it's that you know in a world, and especially in the United States, but I think all across the world we're seeing it, we're sort of having this culture war of conservative values and like this outrage culture. And I think that it is really cool that we're seeing that one of the biggest television shows right now is about two queer men.
yeah. And
I think,
we have to
and I,
thank the Canadian taxpayer for that.
yeah, thank you, Canadian taxpayers. But I think that it is really cool. And I think that it is sort of, you've seen it's had like a tangible impact.
Yeah, there's, like,
Um,
literal athletes who are like, "I'm coming out now."
yeah, like it's had a tangible impact both on that, and I think especially too because the sports world is generally so like there are definitely like people who fall more into like the fandomy and like who are more open and accepting that kind of stuff who fall into the sports fandoms. Just look at the F1 fandom.
Yeah.
But like that and like hockey as well is a big one where it's like there's a lot of people who are queer and a lot of women and a lot of that who are fans of this, but the vast majority is men and is
Yeah.
straight men because it has such a broad appeal because it's sports. It's
Yeah.
sports.
I
So
mean,
I do
I've
think that
been
yeah.
watching the reaction from, like, the male hockey, like, the straight male hockey, like, podcasters, and it's, like, very positive, and they're like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
thought this was just gonna be, like, we were gonna make jokes about smut, but now I'm, like, emotionally invested," kinda thing. Like,
Yeah.
me and Claire, we were talking about it, and we were like, "This is, like, cross-cultural exchange that's happening between straight men and gay
Yeah.
people in a way that's, like," and, like, I don't
And
wanna, like,
in a lot of ways Supernatural paved the way. No, I'm just
no,
kidding.
God. Speaking of Supernatural paved the way, I have to bring up the other elephant in the room.
Oh god. You know what's crazy? We were talking before we started recording what we were going to talk about. I immediately do not remember what you are. I don't remember what you're going to say.
So, uh, obviously, the website twitter.com is a broken place full of people. Basically, the only people left are people like me who are lurking for fan art, insane Nazis, or people who just want to make basically Tumblr posts that would have caused drama in 2014 and then causing, it's people who want to get into discourse, okay?
Oh yeah, and
So
specifically people who have bought uh whatever the fuck the verification thing is so that they can get paid for vague tweeting.
yeah. So
Yeah. Oh, you don't like Claudia, you don't like X the everything app?
uh, anyways, so and this wasn't just on there, to be fair, but there was a show that both of us do not like, called Stranger Things. If you like Stranger Things,
Oh
um
my fucking god. I completely forgot that an entire Stranger Things has come out and ended since we last recorded. I was so excited at the prospect of heated rivalry, a show I haven't even seen, that I completely forgot about Stranger Things, which was one of the that's crazy that Stranger Things, which is one of like the biggest shows in the last like
yeah,
little while, like one of the shows that kind of pioneered, like aside from Orange is the New Black, kind of like pioneered Netflix's place as a major
yeah,
entertainment company. that I was like, whatever, I don't care about that. Talk about these hockey players.
On the Yowie podcast, who was shocked? No, but so as a
well,
Supernatural podcast, we have to bring
we
this
do
up.
have to talk about this, don't we?
Neither of us watches Stranger Things. I think I watched the first like 2.5 seasons.
I have seen the first season like right when it came out, and that was about 8 million years ago. I was a very different person back then.
I was very like open to some of the shipping at the beginning, and then the show got really bad, and I was like, actually, I don't give a fuck anymore. And racist and many things, right? So if you didn't know, spoilers for Stranger Things, I guess.
Oh no. Did Byler go canon? Sorry, I'm sorry. That was mean. No.
No. We get to be mean. We're going to be mean about Stranger Things here. If that offends you, you can turn it off. This is not personal, okay?
Yeah, and also I must say, I have to say this. I know that there's a lot. First of all, if you're listening to a Supernatural podcast, I have a feeling that Stranger Things is not your first fandom, so I think you're probably okay. But there's a lot of people right now who I think are either young or are just now getting into fandom. So I think people are reheating a lot of discourse that we have seen about shows in the past, especially about like shipping and like what is canon and what matters if it's canon, that kind of stuff. So I've been seeing a lot of the same discourse that like I was not necessarily involved in, but privy to on Tumblr in like 2012 and 2014, like through that time period. It's just really beautiful that history repeats itself. But that is to say, my disclaimer, here is that you shouldn't feel bad if you were invested in a ship from this show, despite the fact that I don't understand quite why. Like, I support your right.
I support your right to like this thing and make content about it. I just personally don't understand it, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And also I think the other thing too is that it's like you shouldn't feel embarrassed if you shipped this ship and it didn't go canon and now people are making fun of it. Like, you shouldn't, it's not a personal failing, and we are gonna make fun of it, I have to be honest.
But this is not against all of this so that we don't get canceled, because we are gonna make fun of it.
But it's also, again, it's not like you are stupid for quote unquote falling for it. Like, you're not stupid for enjoying a ship. You're not stupid for anything. This is not like a moral failing. This is not a personal problem. But we are going to draw parallels to John Locke, okay? Like, I'm sorry.
On the Supernatural, okay.
But you know, like, I'm sorry, I just had to preference it.
For context for people, the character who's played by Zionist R. Us, who I do have to call out because he is a Zionist who went to my alma mater, so fuck you, bitch. What the fuck is his name?
Noah Schnapp. Noah Schnapp. Why do you say Noah Schnapp?
Noah Schnapp. His stupid fuck ass character Will comes out at the end of Stranger Things in a very, very bad scene. I've only seen clips, but it's bad. Okay?
Also, watching this scene, I watched this scene. I feel bad. I have absorbed basically everything that's happened via Twitter and like just like reading articles, being like, "Girl, what the hell?" But he comes out to a room of, it has to be like 14 people.
Half of them don't even know him. Like,
no, literally, or like they know of him. They know him because he's plot relevant. But like,
yeah, he basically comes out for plot reasons that he has to because he's connected to the main monster or whatever. And unfortunately, there were a lot of comparisons to the Castiel confession scene, because what ends up happening is that, like, it's not requited. It's unrequited Byler. And so people...
Yeah, for context, for those of you who really don't know anything about Stranger Things, Will is like one of the characters. He gets abducted in the first season, then gets connected to all this like stuff, right? There's multiple dimensions, universes, whatever. But there's this other kid, Mike, who's played by Finn Wolfhard, and it's clear that Will has a crush on Mike, but Mike is not really... Yeah. And Mike is straight. He's got vibes with 11.
I will say that, like, I was definitely of the mind in the first season where I was like, oh, Will is obviously gay and whatever. So, like, I think the problem that most people had was that it was clear that he was gay. And I will say that Stranger Things and Netflix in general loves to be America's Next Top Queer Bait, and they do love to use actually any kind of bait, nostalgia bait, whatever. That they
Yeah.
love to do all of the things, all the arsenals in their tools in their arsenal. Jesus Christ.
All the arsenals in their tool.
Fuck,
Sorry.
what am I saying? I was up until 4 a.m. rewatching Frieren season 1, a good TV show.
Oh my god.
If you want to watch actual real good TV, watch fucking Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Anyway, so basically people were comparing it to the Castiel confession scene, and this is where I'm gonna have to do something that we don't do often on this show and defend Supernatural.
Listen, I feel like I will defend Supernatural. If it's against Stranger Things, get behind me, Supernatural. I'll protect you.
It's kind of like Hydrogen Baby versus Coughing Bomb.
No, that's literally it. No, because people.
Wait, did you hear what I just said?
Bitch, you know I heard what you said. I'm saying it's literally that because, like, listen, Stranger Things has been on for so long, but also it has not that many episodes. It has like 50 some episodes.
There's like 5 years between every season.
Yeah, it's like Stranger Things. And while I do think, like, obviously it had its cultural input, like, I'm not going to sit here and try to act like Stranger Things isn't relevant. Because also, Supernatural was relevant to the people who watched it and not really relevant unless you were on the internet.
And
but
it had a lot of cultural effects that most people, like, didn't realize because they didn't know about it.
So I think Supernatural's cultural effect before the end of it was very much like, oh, that show's still on?
Yeah.
But I digress. Or people who are like on Tumblr back in the day and are like, God damn.
Well, and the creation of Omegaverse.
Yes. But I digress. But I think the thing is, I know I said it, we were going to compare. I think that Stranger Things that is much more of a Sherlock daughter than a Supernatural daughter. Because, and I think this is specifically because there were so long between seasons, you know.
There's not that many episodes.
People realized at the end that it was like, oh, they actually didn't know where they were trying to take the story,
and that actually most of it was pretty bad.
and that the ending made the rest worse. Which is where I will say with Supernatural, I feel like the ending wasn't good, but it did kind of make you appreciate the rest of the show.
Yeah, they also. I will give them this is the only time I will apologize for the ending of Supernatural. They did have a global pandemic that changed a lot of it. Yeah, I mean, not to say that some of the story beats weren't still gonna happen, but like they did have a global pandemic. Stranger Things, I don't know if I believe a lot of the thing of like, oh, they had ChatGPT open in the documentary, whatever. The other reason that we're comparing it to Sherlock is because after the last episode, certain fans went fucking insane, started to say that there was a secret last episode, and where have I heard that one before?
This is Apple Tree Yard all over again. For context, Apple Tree Yard was a show that premiered after Sherlock ended, and people were convinced that it was going to be a secret new episode of Sherlock instead of a new show because the lead actress's last name was Watson.
When you said the word reheated nachos, we meant that literally. Not just the discourses, but also the conspiracy theories, all this kind of stuff. And I did say something harrowing in a phone call with some of you guys a couple days ago where I was like, do we think that some of the younger people who grew up on Stranger Things being their popular Supernatural TV show, that it will kind of be like their Supernatural, where they realized later that it was kind of bad, but it had a lot of impact on them early in life? And what we decided was that yes and no, because it is more like Sherlock, and also because the reason that the Castiel confession had such of an impact was because it was after 15 fucking years, or 10 years, I guess.
There's like a million
been in the show.
There's a million episodes. We know these characters so well at that point. Whereas I think the thing that sets
we had been told no so many times that being told yes felt like being punked.
I also think it's important to note that when Supernatural started coming out, like there was obviously queer shows, like that's not up for debate. Like I'm not gonna sit here and act like Destiel was the first gay ship ever. Like that would be crazy. But I do think that it held a very unique thing in that, like, people who watched it, like a large contingent of people who watched it were watching it because of that up through the end. And I think that it's like, you know, we know these characters so well. We see the chemistry on the screen. Like, it is happening on the screen. And obviously fan work was a big part of it, but like it was happening on the screen. You can realize Destiel has gas without reading fan fiction about them.
I also I will say Yeah.
I will, sorry, I just want to say really quick. I noticed this, and I think that this is a big problem with the streaming industry, is that when you have seasons that are so short, that are basically little movies, you have seasons that are so short and so much time between them, people see the interactions they want to see and invent more in fan fiction, invent more in fan culture, and come up with these characterizations that are completely, not necessarily always completely different, but run maybe counter to certain things in the story, then get upset when the story isn't like the fan fiction,
Yeah.
which is not like always a problem. I think it's kind of like enjoy it how you want to enjoy it. But I think that this becomes a big problem when, again, you have so long between the seasons. People have completely diluted these characters. Nobody really knows what the intention is. And then I think with Stranger Things, where you have writers who clearly didn't quite know what they were trying to do, they end up getting involved in the fandom like
Yeah.
zeitgeist, and then
Not
the
to say
show,
that didn't happen with Supernatural, but they were writing a network TV show.
yeah. But
So,
and I think it's the same thing with Sherlock, whereas like I totally think that there was absolutely undoubtedly queer baiting in Sherlock, but it's also like a lot of that was driven by people who were such big fans of the show, who were so passionate about it, talking about it online and coming up with their own ideas, because it was like there's so much time, you can make up your own thing. And I think, I'm not gonna lie, this is like just another thing. I think this also happened with Arcane, because I think the ending, and I don't want to kick this, I don't want to kick the Arcane discourse, the bee's nest, but I will say, I think that this is not about like queer baiting or anything gay, not about the gay stuff. But I just think that I watched Arcane all the way through once it had all already come out, and I'd
oh,
heard
you
people
weren't
be
in the
like, "Oh,
trenches.
no," people like, "Oh, the ending's so bad, whatever." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I was prepared for that. I watched it. I was like, "Oh, the ending was fine.
I need to
It
hold
had
people's
problems, but it
hand.
was
I
fine."
need to hold
Like,
people's hand when they say this, that the ending of Arcane, like the second season, it was not as ass as people thought it was. I was like,
I
if
thought it,
you
yeah,
expected this to be some big make some big political statement, this
Marxist
is like,
revolutionary League of Legends show.
yeah, this is it. Like, was I disappointed with some storylines in the second season? Yes. This is
Oh
very
yeah.
similar to how I felt about Wicked for Good, where people were like, it was ass. And I was like, well, it was already gonna have some problems when you took a very well made musical that was a tight 2 hours and made it into two really long movies. So I liked it for what it was and what it could only be in this context. Same with Arcane. Also, comparing Arcane to something like Stranger Things or Game of Thrones or even the last episode of Supernatural, which are objectively really bad. Really,
Yeah.
really bad. Like, objectively horrible. I would argue with Stranger Things, it hadn't been good since maybe season 2. I would argue season 1, but let's not quibble there. But, like, Arcane season 2 has a lot of good parts of it, and
Yeah.
that's as good as it was going to get in the context that it was going to get. Stranger
Yeah.
Things had every opportunity to be good, years even.
Well,
I,
the
I,
other thing with Arcane, and like we don't need to have a long conversation about
yeah,
Arcane. I just rewatched the first episode recently because I was like, I miss my friends on that show.
yeah,
But I think that the big thing is that at least with Arcane, because it's an animated show, like that entire time between the seasons was spent on development, whereas with
yeah.
Stranger Things, it's like you have the Duffer Brothers being like, we didn't even have like a final, we hadn't even finished the final episode when we began production on it. And I might be quoting that wrong, but it's something like that, where it's like they either hadn't finished the final season when they started production, or like, oh, we needed more time. I'm like, surely it did not take you guys 3 years to write this final season.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and
that
again,
you have too, like,
this is
you
a
have too
symptom.
much time. Some of the
This
best
is a
network
symptom.
TV happens because the writers are like, fuck, okay, we don't have time, we need to turn this episode in by tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's how I think that the one of the episodes we're going to talk about today was made. No, I'm kidding. No, but
No.
I do want to also point out that when we talk about comparing queer baiting, because people were like, let's compare Byler to Destiel, and I was like, take that raggedy shit out of your mouth, because I think there are two eras of queer baiting, and different kinds. And I would say that if you look at the dates that Stranger Thing came out, like, for context, gay marriage became legal in the United States in 2015, right? The first season of Stranger Things doesn't come out until 2016, and then the final season comes out now. Supernatural has been airing since 2005. Castiel comes in at what, 2010?
About thereabouts, yeah.
2008,
I
something
think
around there.
2000, yeah, right around there. I don't remember off the
So
top of my head.
the conversation around gay people has changed quite a lot, both ups and downs throughout this entire time. But a major part of Netflix's exponential growth strategy in the first like 10-15 years of their existence as both a studio and, not just a DVD rental company, was we're going to make things that have a wide amount of diversity to get people to talk about them, that
Yeah.
are good, that are whatever, to get people on board onto our service.
Hmm.
And then we're going to, and it's the same thing that happened with Voltron. I know we're bringing up all the hot topics here,
Holy shit.
but like we're going to like hand you the stuff and then we're going to cancel shows, we're going to queer bait, we're going to not give people, all kinds of things,
Yeah.
whatever, because it's all about just having the trappings of diversity and make money.
Yeah.
And I would
Whereas that
I
was
would
yeah.
I would argue that that's I would argue that there's at least two different kinds of queer baiting. One is your
Yeah.
traditional homegrown organic queer baiting, like Destiel, where it is Schrodinger's queer, and you got about half the writing staff who knows what the fuck gay people are, and half of them who are just writing gay shit by accident, and then people in marketing and whatever who we're doing things, who know the audience, and other people who don't, and weird
Yeah.
shit going on, and
It's very
not just.
dare I say very steric.
Yeah, no, but like that's what I was gonna say, of like it's not just Supernatural that was doing this. It was Teen Wolf. There were lots of things that like of this
Yeah.
experimental era where it was kind of both on purpose and not on purpose. And then you get
Yeah.
to the Netflix era where where they have people of my age working for them, whatever, who know that gay makes people talk online. It doesn't always make you money, but it does make people talk online. And that's when you get the era of, we're going to include gay people. We're not going to treat them well, but we're going to include gay people so that you stupid little gays will come in. And that's why I'm like, again, I have to defend Supernatural, because people online were talking about the comparison of the confession scenes of Castiel, whatever. And I was like, not to be that person, but Castiel's episode was written by a gay man on the Supernatural staff, an openly gay man on the Supernatural staff who had wanted to do that for a long time, and and was like, one last one for the road. And it meant a lot to people, even if people argued about it within the plot. The Byler one was written by two straight guys. I mean, I know that there are some gay people on the writing staff of Stranger Things at different points, but
Yeah.
two straight guys who are trying to get people to watch Stranger Things at
Yeah.
Christmas.
Also, I have to add, there is also something to be said about like a lot of shows do have diversity, and a lot of shows do have like queer characters that people love to overlook because they want the hashtag Yowie, which is like, I understand. Like, I'm not gonna sit
You can
here
say
and be like,
911.
no, I wasn't actually talking about 911, which is crazy because I actually have crazy beef with 911 right now. But the thing I was gonna say, as it relates to like what we're talking about, is that there are a lot of times where it's like there is a main queer woman. Specifically, there are a lot of the times there are lesbians, and they also like it's like I don't remember exactly what I was trying to say. The problem is, on Stranger Things, one of the main characters is a lesbian, Robin, and
Openly so.
the
Kisses a
the
woman,
treat
everything.
treatment of people are so concerned about how Byler didn't become canon, all this whatever, and I think it was kind of abysmal the way that they treated Will's arc from what I have read. Again, I have not watched the show, but like, you have a main lesbian character, and she also got, according to what I've read, really like the short end of the stick, and her character kind of got like flanderized.
Yeah,
And it's
and like
just like it
she got
sucks so bad
she
because
got
it's like,
spin-off media that was written by actual like queer people,
yeah,
and like stuff like that, but like she was basically used as a Will realizing that he could be gay because she was gay kind of thing. And like, again, I'm gonna say it,
and then like
I don't
Loki
think
outed her to everyone.
yeah, also, I don't think the Duffer Brothers really have the range to handle gay kids in the 80s.
Yeah,
I don't think
ooh,
they have
yeah,
that range. I don't think they have that range.
you know,
Because and not to bring it back to Heated Rivalry, but one thing about that show that's really good is that it is a period piece, and it's a period piece that moves very fast. It starts in 2008 and then goes onward. And if you watch it with a, I guess one eye open, and you're like, well, why don't they just come out? You're like, Because it started in 2008 and they still even can't come out.
That was when Obama was not clear on if he was in favor of gay rights.
Yeah, like
Obama was pretty like, oh, I don't know about all
and
that.
granted, it's happening in Canada, but still, like, I just, a lot of this is, when I went on twitter.com and I saw people trying to compare the Will confession to Castiel, something in me, I was like, don't you ever speak on Castiel ever again, you raggedy motherfucker.
No.
It's the only time I have ever felt patriotic for Supernatural. I was like, in my house, we have homegrown, organic, fair trade queer bait. This is artificial Netflix slop that they want you to use so that you'll talk about the damn show and make it relevant. Because after this, we're not going to be free of Stranger Things. They're going to make a fucking animated series because the actors are too old. They want to string this out forever. And I'm like, in my day, you made 15 seasons of a fucking TV show, and you made those straight men go to conventions and say they were bisexual and then say they weren't bisexual. We had homegrown fucking queer bait. You, like, don't even lie to me. I said, what did I say? I was like, unless I am receiving breaking news from Byler, don't even fucking speak. Don't even talk. You will never be her.
Literally, I'm sorry.
Netflix,
you know what? And you know what?
Here's we will never create breaking news template, okay?
That's what I'm saying. That's literally You know, it's funny how it takes like the state of modern television to really make me appreciate Supernatural and be like, maybe Supernatural was a good show. Like, no, we really are like losing the sacred text of being like this dog shit as bullshit CW show, and now because everything else sucks so bad that we're told is supposed to be good, it's like, you know what? Supernatural's actually, you know what? This is how we get shit like Riverdale, where it's like you're watching it, you're like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. But then you look back and you're like, that was kind of the best show ever.
Yeah,
because there are people didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Everyone was on coke, probably, like allegedly.
And that
but
was
like
the thing.
they had 5 minutes. They were bringing in their script day of, but the difference is they had a week to prepare their script. They didn't have 3 fucking years.
Well, and also, and this is again like not like I'm you know, not to bring it back to heated rivalry, but one thing that people noticed was that they did what is actual talent in any type of production, TV, film, anything like that, which is making the best of your container, which is your budget. And you could tell that they had, $3 Canadian and a dream, but they did really interesting artistic choices to be able to do it. And that's what makes these things like Stranger Things so disappointing, is that like, okay, if you have a budget that big and attention that big, what are you doing with it? Nothing. Like, for Heated Rivalry, they had 6 episodes. 6 fucking episodes. Most TV shows, they get 8 episodes, they make it into a bloated fucking 8-part movie that sucks. And this was a tight 6 episodes that they were like, we may not get a second season, we're going balls to the wall. I would also argue that because it was based on previous source material, and the idea of a capital R Western romance novel is that you are within a specific framework, and it is within a short kind of container is the wrong word, but like you're within a short kind of medium, I guess, that like it's easier to do that some sort of self-contained story. And granted, this book does have a sequel that season 2 is going to be about, whatever, but like it I think the thing about Heated Rivalry to me was that I was like, oh, the medium of television can be good. The medium of television, like, I forgot that the medium of, like, and granted, there are some anime that I've been watching where I've been like, this utilizes the medium of television really well. I've really liked the Percy Jackson series, even though I have certain problems with it, whatever, where I'm like, oh, I forgot that, like, the medium of television can be good and cannot be Netflix trying to make people rage bait talk about something, which unfortunately happens a lot of times. And I will say, like, if you listen to our show, we start by being like, fuck Supernatural, this stupid show, whatever. And by the time we've gotten to season 6, now we're like, I don't know, man. I miss regular TV.
No, it's so funny also because we started this show in 2021, and it's like,
Yeah.
geez, the state of TV has just changed so much in the last 5 years. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, God, we've been doing this show for almost 5 years now. Isn't that crazy?
And we're only on season 6.
Um, I also, well, that's because we release an episode allegedly every 2 weeks, and
Every 2 weeks
and
in our hearts.
and every 2 weeks, and you know what? If you re-listen to the episodes, and tell your friends about them, and then you can talk about them, and then someone will give us $1 billion to make the podcast for a
Yeah.
network, and then we can release episodes more. So
Yeah.
if you get on that, you lazy fans. No, I'm just kidding. We don't make money to do this. I don't know if I would want to make money to do this. I
No,
feel like
imagine
I would
if in
feel
the
bad
middle
taking
of this-
someone's money to make this.
Imagine if in the middle of this we were like, hi, I need to talk about Casper mattress. Hey, did you know
Oh
that
my
Dean is a
God.
bottom? I bet he would enjoy bottoming on a Casper mattress.
No, can you imagine being an advertiser and listening to us talk about Omegaverse and Mpreg and then being like, yeah, no, this seems like, and thank you for using Squarespace, honestly.
Yeah, you know, maybe if Sam Winchester had a Squarespace website.
You know, maybe Dean Winchester's really going through a lot. He should download BetterHelp. Don't download BetterHelp, guys. Even if we did get bought out by a corporate entity, you would not catch us promoting BetterHelp on here. The show would end first.
Aren't they both Israeli and also have other problems?
Oh, I'm not going to go into the intricacies of the problems with BetterHelp, but trust,
There are many.
There's a lot. And that's not to say that maybe some people haven't had good experiences with it, but it's just like a deeply unethical thing.
Yeah.
I digress. No, it's not unethical for you to use.
Okay, Claire just
But I think
texted
it low-key
me from
is.
the other room and said, forget Casper, fig mattress. For context, fig mattresses are the mattresses made for like bigger people, and my partner and I did buy one recently. So if Fig Mattress wants to sponsor
Contact us.
two fat queer sapphic people talking about Supernatural, call us up.
Yeah,
With that
that
sponsorship
part.
we will do.
Exactly. I mean, I would be willing to bring it up in every single, like every at least 10 minutes.
Okay,
Of
remember when we talked about Dean Winchester being a fat bear?
We did talk about that, didn't we?
Fat bear Dean, Fig Mattress. Let's talk about it.
But you know what? It's great for skinny people too.
Yeah, it's
It's
very
great for
comfortable for
everyone.
whoever. We have had
So
skinny
I'll
people
be,
sleep on the
so
bed
who do
when they
we-
have.
Yeah,
Who do
who do
we
we send
what?
our invoice to at Fig? Can we get on that? We'll do that after. Anyway,
Yeah,
we've
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of lost the plot.
Kind of like
Do we
Stranger
wanna-
Things.
Brought it back around.
Whack him again!
Eddie, baby. I
Stop!
just saw Steve. God, is there any other shows we can bring up? Guys, we should get a billboard for episode 9 of Stranger Things. You know, because obviously billboards work really well when you're trying to get a show to not be canceled.
Why did the phrase Schnapple Tree Yard come into my
Schnapple Tree Yard.
What's wrong with me?
Oh my fucking God, that's really good. Okay.
We're gonna have to call
okay.
the episode.
That's so good. Oh my God.
I don't know what
And you know what? The chance that people who come for their Supernatural recap have just skipped through this part of the episode.
Okay, we've been ragging on a lot of TV shows, and we talked about you should watch Heated Rivalry. We do have a regular segment on the show called Queer Media You Should Actually Watch. There is a BL anime out right now, speaking of, that you should go watch. It's getting review bombed by straight people because
It's called Trigun Stargaze.
No.
No.
Well, it's called Trigun Stargaze, which also, yeah,
No.
we took so long to have a new episode that the new season of Trigun is now airing.
And the new season of JJK.
Yeah.
It's like really a big deal for us. We're having a lot. Anyway,
let's talk about the
not
rules
about
of the
that.
culling game. No.
No, God, no. God, no. God, no.
Can you, whoever has written a fan fiction about Sam and Dean getting trapped in the culling game, please send it to me because that would be funny as fuck.
What the hell are they doing with all those damn points? Be
Well,
serious.
to
Okay.
be fair,
Anyway. No. We're
Okay,
moving past this.
so what I was gonna say is that there is an actual BL right now that people are review bombing because a lot of people just put on some sort of isekai slop to like whatever, and then they did not realize that this isekai slop has men fucking in it. It's called,
Yay.
if you just go on Crunchyroll and look up Bean Counter, and you're like, Bean Counter, basically it's about an accountant that gets isekai'd into another world and then a man wants to fuck him. It's incredible, okay?
That's a really good concept.
Like the adaptation is like just fine. It's not like terrible, but it's not, BL doesn't always get the biggest um thing, but it's based on a series of light novels. It's called The Other World's Books Depend on the Bean Counter. Basically, this guy is like, I want to be an accountant, and this other guy's like, I gotta fuck him. I got no notes, okay? They do fuck in the series. You should watch it.
I gotta respect that.
That's actual queer media. And now let's go talk about
Well, I have also some stuff I want to recommend.
Let's hear.
I've been reading a lot recently.
Yes.
Just because, that's what you do when your life is, in shambles. A couple of the stories that I wanted to recommend, just that I think are some pretty good, like fun options if you're into romance or queer stories. I literally just finished a book called When the Tides Held the Moon by Venessa, Vida, Kelley. I just finished that today. It's a story about, it's like 1911 in Brooklyn, and it's this Puerto Rican boy who comes here and who comes to New York and helps a circus capture a merman who he then falls in love with.
Shit.
I thought it was really good. I'm not much of a romance person, so I was like, it's only my favorite book of all time, but I did really enjoy it. That would definitely be one that I would recommend if you're into the more like fantasy, like urban fantasy kind of romancy kind of deal. That was really good. Another one that I have read, if you're looking for something a little more serious, maybe more detective-y, there's a series, the Evander Mills series by Lev A.C. Rosen. The first one is Lavender House. One book has come out like every year for the last like 4 years or 3 years, I guess. I don't know. There's 4 books. But the most recent one is Mirage City. I really liked that one, but it's about a gay detective in the 1950s who's like,
we will link to all of these like books and TV shows in the description in the show notes because we have a lot actually.
Yeah, but he's like, damn, it's so hard being gay in the 1950s. It's a good series. The last one that I read that I thought was really good was The Unworthy by Agustina Bazterrica. She also wrote Tender is the Flesh, so many may know her from that. This one's really heavy and it's really like body horror, intense. Like I would not recommend this to most people. I really enjoyed it because I like things that are gross and scary. But it's kind of like the end of the world has happened. This woman is in this basically a convent, and there's gay vibes are happening, but it's also really fucked up. So that's only if you're I would definitely look up what it's about before you start reading it, just to make sure it's all stuff you're comfortable with. But God, I really like that book. Anyway, those are my queer reading recommendations. Also, if you want just like a fun sports romance, you should read Pole Position because that book is crazy. It's an F1 romance.
That's crazy. I was going to recommend a sports romance that like a bunch of people were recommending. If you wanted more like heated rivalry, a big piece of heated rivalry is like, I want to be a professional sports player, but being gay is gonna complicate that. This one takes place it's still an adult romance, but it takes place in college. It's called Futbolista. It's about soccer players.
Yes.
It's incredible. I have to disclose that it's one of Claire's clients, but Johnny is incredible. So Jot that down.
Literally.
And it is about adults, so you know,
Yes.
and we will also link to that. So jot that down. Should we talk about Supernatural?
We should talk about Supernatural. So now that we're actually going to talk about Supernatural, one, in the interest of time, and two, because the episode after this next one is kind of a big one that we have many, many opinions on, I think we're just going to be talking about the one today also because I want to get this episode out as soon as possible because I know you guys are waiting for our triumphant return. So we are just going to be talking about the one, but it's a hell of an episode. um, but yeah, also I have to mention this is episode 69 of the show, and we spent most of it talking about Stranger Things.
That's fucked up. Oh
No, this is episode 69 of the Mysteries podcast, and we talked about Stranger Things. We need to talk about Supernatural.
we have to talk about Destiel fucking. We didn't even like talk about like them 69ing in a fan fiction. Fuck, we're so Jesus Christ.
No, we flopped. But we're gonna talk about this next episode, and then you will have to come back next week, 2 weeks from now, a month from now, 2 years from now, whenever we finally record the next part, to hear about the next couple episodes. Because I think once we finish this one, we kind of get on a like, oh my god, it's nonstop till the end of the season.
Yeah. Well, and also the next episode is a classic episode that we both love and hate. Mostly hate.
Yeah. See, I don't know. We'll talk about it. No spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers. It's the French Mistake. If you
which
know,
I've talked
you know.
about many a time on this podcast. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
This is season 6, episode 14, Mannequin 3, The Reckoning. If you remember, Death put up a wall in Sam's mind so that when he got his soul back, all the torture from being in the cage with Michael and Lucifer wouldn't kill him. And lo and behold, what did Sam do? Knock down the wall. We are now at the point where Sam is going to be waking up. What happened to his brain? Let's see. So we open on abandoned house. If you forget, Sam scratched at the wall in his brain. They were having a heated conversation. He falls on the floor, unconscious, and faints. So we open on Sam unconscious on the floor. Dean is like, Sam, wake up. Sammy, oh my god, what's going on? Sam opens his eyes briefly. He sees like hellfire. He's clearly flashing back to when he was being tortured in hell. And then he kind of wakes up and Dean's like, hey, like, are you okay? Like, let's get you out of here. We cut to a college science lab. There's a janitor. It's nighttime. And he's all alone. He's just doing his thing. And he hears a noise behind him. And he's like, huh. And then he sees blood, like, dripping on the floor, like, by his mop. And he's like, what is that? And then he touches his forehead and he realizes that the blood is coming from himself, from his forehead, a cut. And he's like, what is going on? And he starts to see his breath like it's cold. And he's like, what the hell? And he's like, is somebody there? And then he turns around and there's a anatomy dummy behind him. And then he screams and he's clearly dead. Cold open. Show begins. We now open. We're on the street. Sam is kind of like, and Dean's like, are you good? Like, how do you feel? And Sam's like, I feel like I got hit by a planet. And Dean's like, okay, I'm a doctor. I got you some Joe, some grub, and then he has a container of pills. And Sam's like, what is that? And Dean's like, it's effective. And Sam's like, okay. Mind you, take the fucking Excedrin, bitch. Anyways. So
I think I just like Sam being like, no, don't. I need my senses sharp.
Like, fuck off. Okay. And so Sam's like, how long was I out? And Dean's like, you were out for 2 or 3 minutes, but like, what did it feel like? And Sam's like, about a week, give or take. And Dean, in a surprising moment of emotional maturity, is like, well, do you want to talk about it? And Sam's like,
we can't say this about Dean, this being a surprising moment of emotional maturity, because he immediately follows it up with something so immature in the sense that Dean is just really obsessed with being like, we need to talk about this. Then being like, actually, no, I don't.
Like let's flip-flop, mamas.
Like, Diva, you asked to talk about it. Another thing I love about Dean is that I feel like no one can decide how much he wants to talk about his feelings. or
Yeah.
like people's feelings in general, because he's always like, no, I don't want to talk about feelings, but like let's talk about our feelings. And then they start talking, he's like, no, don't stop, don't talk about your feelings.
And
Like
you're like,
what's the truth?
make a decision. So Dean's like, yeah, I mean, like, it was basically like you were electrocuted. And Sam's like, no, like, it wasn't fun. Like, I'm fine. And Dean, who's probably the only person who would understand this, because he's also been to hell and been tortured, he was like, it was hell, literally. Like, right? Like, you got a big fat face full of hell. You know, you could have died. And Sam's like, come on. Dean's like, yeah, none of this, it's just a flesh wound. Yes, that's a Monty Python reference. You know, we did it your way. We let you explore. Every bad thing I said would happen happened. So, and this is where he turns around and starts just spouting bullshit. And he's like, well, guess what? Past stays past. We're not kicking that wall again. And Sam's like, I'm supposed to just ignore it? And Dean's like, well, yes.
This is another metaphor for queerness, if I
Yup.
said that, where it's like they give, I think we've said this before on the podcast, where it's like they give Sam all these like stories about like fitting in, and like it's a metaphor for like for gayness, but then it's like because they're giving it to him, it somehow ends up feeling like the most straight thing.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not even sitting here being like, oh, Sam, like you need to think Sam is straight, but I just think he's hell of a lot straighter of the two brothers.
Yeah. Which is crazy. And Sam is like, Dean, I might have done, who knows what when I was, soulless. You want me to just forget about it? And this is where Dean goes, you shove it down and you let it come out in spurts of violence and alcoholism. Well, and Sam's like, well, that sounds healthy. And Dean's like, well, works for me. And you're
Oh
like,
my
okay,
god.
all right. Dean is like, okay, listen, it's not a joke. Your life is on the line. This is not a debate. You were a soulless dickbag and now you're not. So now we're good. And Sam's like, sure. And Dean's like, good. Let's get your mind off of it. Let's go. Let's do a job. And you're like, okay, that's healthy. And Dean's like, okay, there was a janitor murdered in a college lab last night. Doors were locked. Nobody else is in or out of the building. And he's like, it's in Patterson, New Jersey. Hell, maybe we'll have a Snooki sighting. Yeah.
This is crazy considering Snooki is on the show later.
Yeah. I mean, they did that with Paris Hilton too.
Well, yeah, but Paris Hilton wasn't actually on the show at like that was someone pretending to
was.
be Paris Hilton.
No,
Well, she was. No, I mean I know, but the character was not Paris Hilton. The character was was like a
Yeah.
goddess pretending to be Paris Hilton.
Yeah.
This is like Snooki real person is like I am Snooki and I am on the
Yeah.
show like as herself.
So Sam's like, what's a Snooki? And Dean's like, that's a good question. Which means that Dean has been watching Jersey Shore at night when he can't sleep.
The idea that Sam doesn't know who cultural icon Snooki is crazy.
Like, damn. So we're now at the college science lab. They're clearly pretending to be FBI agents. They're looking at the anatomy dummy. Dean's like messing with it, and he's like, wow, like this is freaking awesome. And he hands the heart to Sam, and he's like, be my Valentine. And Sam is like, dude, we're working, put it back. And Dean's like, have a heart.
He's like, girl, shut up.
And Sam's like, Dean. And the cute thing about these moments is that this is to emphasize that like real Sam is back. Which is really nice. It's really, you're like, oh, Sam is back.
No, this made me realize like how much like I know we keep talking about it, but it's like, oh my god, I missed Sam with a soul so bad.
Yeah, like they're dynamic. I miss that shit. So Dean is like, buzzkill. And then he's like, oh, you smell sulfur? And Sam's like, yeah, we're in a science lab. Mind you, I think if you smell sulfur in a lab, that's still a bad thing. Like there's something still going wrong.
I feel like there shouldn't be that many stenches of that sort of, that seems, I'm not a scientist. Scientists in the chat, if you could confirm, that does not seem right.
Especially like a teaching lab, like where they're not doing like, research there.
I mean,
they
probably are. I mean,
I don't know.
might be.
It looks kind of like a high school classroom, to be honest, but
that is true. Yeah, it definitely didn't look like a college. I mean, I guess it did look like a college lab, but it definitely wasn't like a we're doing research kind of lab.
Yeah, like black tables.
Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah.
So Dean's phone starts to ring, realizes it's Lisa. If you remember, last time we saw Lisa, he accidentally hurt Ben and he doesn't want to talk to her. And Sam's like, well, who is it? He rejects the call. And Sam immediately goes, so it's Lisa? I
Ooh,
miss Sam. Get his
Sam, do
ass.
something.
Dean's like, maybe you should mind your own business. And Sam's like, well, what's wrong with just talking to her, Dean? And Dean immediately turns away and it starts talking to somebody he's like, thanks, Dr. Laura. That's very insightful.
The
Is
Dr.
he?
Laura reference, girl, don't be saying all that.
Yeah, and look at that, our time's up. And then Sam's EMF meter goes off, and they're like, uh-oh, ghost gone wild. Clearly there's something up here with ghosts. And Sam's like, I don't know. But Dean looks at the security camera, and he goes, but Big Brother's watching. And then they go and they watch the security footage. We cut to the Impala, and Dean, again, says words that nobody says. He says, so, what'd you find out from the mop jockey's girlfriend, aka the janitor's girlfriend?
Like, that's...
Nobody says that!
Also, I'm just like, that's just... I love this show. I love this show.
Yeah, here comes another reference that very firmly places this in the early 2010s, okay? It does feel like getting hit by a bat over and over in these first few scenes. Stan goes, nothing, just how great he was. He went to church, he donated to charity, rubbed her feet during Glee. Okay.
Wow.
Dean goes, I just threw up in my mouth. That's a wild thing to say, knowing that I know you watch Glee when it's on reruns.
Oh my god.
Dean. So, Sam's like, sorry. Anyway, I checked his record. It's spotless. What about the science building? Like, did you find anything? And Dean's like, it was built in 05. There's nothing weird about the land. The biggest mishap was some genius accidentally spilled sulfuric acid on his crotch. They don't even dissect
Jesus Christ.
They don't even dissect anything good in there. Anything bigger than Kermit, and they use an iPad.
Right. So
he's against iPad babies in 2010.
And you know what? Maybe he was ahead of the curve.
He kind of was. Sam's like, okay, so we've got nothing. And we cut to a mannequin factory. We can see that there's going to be a theme here. It's nighttime. There's a security guard. He's like, hello, who's there? He's like, Johnny? And then he kind of starts laughing. He's like, is that you? And then he gets scared again. He's like, okay. Haha, like very funny. What the hell? And he has kind of the bleeding on his forehead as well. And then he turns around and he gets stabbed by a mannequin. And we cut to black. Okay, so we got some things going on with mannequins. Yeah. I want to interject here and say that the idea of a haunted, specifically anatomical dummy coming to life, if you're a fan of like older anime, actually comes up a lot in older things. If you're a fan of older anime, you may know of a show called Ghost Stories that had a pretty well-known dub that is known for being really funny and really inaccurate. But the actual original anime and the manga that it's based on, that was very popular in the early 90s, had one of these stories. And then there were definitely other anime and manga that took from it. One of them is Hell Teacher Nube, which had a adaptation in the 90s and now has a reboot that then had an episode with the anatomical dummy. And I talked to one of my friends about it because I was like, where does this thing of like anatomical lab dummy come to life come from? And she's really into horror. And obviously in this episode of Supernatural, it's because there's something going on with ghosts. But specifically in the Japanese stories, it's more of a Shintoism thing, a yokai thing of like this object that people have put energy into or whatever comes to life. While in Western stories, it's usually that it's being possessed by the spirit of something. This comes up a lot because I was like, is this a reference to something? Is this a like whatever? Because this specific trope comes up a lot in Japanese media. And it's usually that it's like this thing that looks like a person is coming to life. wrongly so, in the Supernatural wiki, some fuck ass super hulock definitely wrote these stupid trivia because they were like, oh, this is a reference to Doctor Who, because the first episode of the reboot has mannequins come to life, and I'm like, no, it
Also,
isn't. This is a trope that existed before that.
no, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, it's literally named after a movie where that happens.
Yeah, like
it's probably a reference to Mannequin. Like,
yeah, like
it's a reference to so many, the amount of pieces of media that exist about mannequins and like dolls and things coming to life that shouldn't.
yeah.
There's a whole thing in the Magnus archive, not to bring up the Magnus archives, we're really getting everything. There's a whole thing in the Magnus archives dedicated to mannequins and dolls and things that shouldn't be alive being alive.
Yeah, like
It's a whole thing.
yeah. I just thought it was interesting, the differences, like the cultural differences, and also the like specifically we start with the anatomy dummy. Later on, this is a mannequin because they're in a factory. I also have to know that this episode is very pro like manufacturing in America because we get into like
No,
the stuff in
literally.
factory, and I was like, don't they do all this shit in China now? And I was like,
We need to unionize.
I was like, damn, like this clothing factory is in New Jersey. But
Literally.
and I just thought it was interesting, and I also the fact that they were like, this is like Doctor Who. That being said, when I watched it in 2012, I was like, oh, it's just like Doctor Who, and this episode is the fodder for a couple different Super Hulock edits, so you know. Anyways, so now we are in the mannequin factory by day. Sam and Dean are there again. They're pretending to be FBI agents. They're using the EMF meter. And Sam's like, this thing is like humming. What is going on? Sam is like, wait, what's the similarity between here and the science lab? There was the anatomy dummy there. And he says, the anatomy dummy that you were molesting at the lab. And Dean's like, excuse me? And Sam's like, what if that's what this is about? And Dean's like, wait, what exactly are you accusing me of? And Sam's like, okay. There was an anatomy dummy there. And here, there's mannequins. And Dean's like, no, you're joking. So we've got what? A bunch of killer dolls? Like Chucky? I mean, come on, that's freaking creepy. And Sam's like, okay, if ghosts can possess humans and move objects, why can't they possess this? They've definitely had ghosts possess objects before in the show.
I mean, they've had ghosts. I don't think they've had ghosts like possess. Well, oh yeah, because that diva was in the mirror.
And then they have dolls?
They have. I'm sure they have.
I don't know.
I wish. You know what? Sorry, Dean Winchester. I would have loved to have seen Sam and Dean do a podcast reaction to the movie Megan. Like, I don't even think that I don't even think either of them would have. I don't think either of them would have even loved it or like disliked it strongly. I just really would have liked to hear their opinions.
Yeah. I also, they get thrown across the room so many times in this that like they do have CTE, and I think that when they forget things, it's just because they have mental problems.
That's what they have in common with the boys from Heated Rivalry. They all have.
Just gonna say that. Oh my god. Okay, so I also think that Dean is watching Heated Rivalry late at night, and it's like nobody can know that I watched this, and then Sam's like, well, I watched it with Eileen, so.
The problem is, I also feel like Dean isn't saying that. I feel like he's saying, yeah, I watch it. Yeah, I mean, it's the most popular show. Like, everyone's watching it. I don't know why you would think that means anything. Because the problem is, I think, is that Dean is... something that has come to me recently is I realize I think something that works very much for me about Dean being gay or queer in some way is that he is completely unself-aware of it, and he is very much convinced. I was like, well, everybody has gay thoughts. Like, come on now.
And Sam's like, actually, no, not everybody does.
Not everybody does, but I can't say that to him. Like, he needs to come to it in his own time.
Sam's like, okay, pack it up. I'm just imagining them in the bunker. Anyways, so Dean's like, okay, riddle me this, bat boy. What? He just says words. Ghosts aren't exactly known for hopping county lines.
Riddle me this. Sorry.
I just thought of riddle me piss.
Yeah.
Oh, Travis. Anyways, so they're not known for, traveling a lot, ghosts. And Sam's like, okay. But Dean's like, this one went to a college and now a factory 3 towns over. So what's the deal? He's like, okay, we have to dig some more. he waves his hand in front of the mannequin's face and he goes, I don't like the way Kim Cattrall's looking at me. Again, the references. Also, his references have now gone from old movies to reality TV. A lot in this episode. I'm just saying.
You know what? To be fair though, especially because it's, this is right post writer's strike. And I wonder if the writer's strike was canon in the Supernatural universe. Because, like, I think the idea of Dean being like, well, because we know Dean loves his little cultural moments. He loves TV. He loves movies. I think that he is, he's probably watching a lot of reality TV. There's not much else they have to do.
Well, Kim Cattrall is obviously from Sex and the City, so that's not reality TV.
Well, but she's also from Mannequin.
Well, that's yes.
I
haven't seen the Mannequin franchise.
I think Dean being a consummate enjoyer of Sex and the City is really.
But also, how is he watching it? Because he doesn't have an HBO subscription.
Okay, yeah, but I'm not. Here's the thing.
This is before HBO Now.
I don't want to. I don't make me think about these sorts of things. I'm just saying, in my heart of hearts, he finds a way. I mean,
is he buying Sex and the City on pay-per-view?
I don't know if you could do that with an HBO show.
I don't know.
I don't think you could. Regardless, in my heart of hearts, he is watching it, and I think he has very strong opinions. Ooh, which woman do you think he is? Which girl is he the most like, do we think? Because I feel like I don't feel like he would identify with any of them because he's like, well, that's like, I just like the show for the, I just think they're hot. Guy who watches Sex in the City because he thinks the girls are hot.
He's so in the closet.
No, literally. I need to think about this.
Sound off.
I feel like Sam is definitely the Miranda, so let's just keep that in our back pocket.
Everybody, sound off in the comments which Sex and the City girl is Dean Winchester. Give your arguments.
My thought is that he's kind of like, he has elements of all of them, I think, is the thing. And I don't think he's
the bigification of Castiel.
Don't say that shit to me ever again.
Listen, the divorce season is kind of giving big.
Don't say that shit to me. Please move along.
Sorry. I just thought
think about how that second Sex in the City movie is about them going to Abu Dhabi.
What?
Yeah. Samantha gets arrested because she's being inappropriate in public.
Oh my god.
That shit was crazy. Anyway.
So we cut to an office. Dean's like, okay, this dead guy, he's as squeaky clean as the last dead guy. I think it's the office of the factory. And he's like, I can't find any dirt on him. And Sam's like, nothing. He's looking at the computer. He's like, okay, there's like something. There was this seamstress named Rose Brown. She went missing over a year ago. The cops just gave up on her. She was last seen at this factory, presumed dead. And she has a sister who survived her, named Isabel. And Dean's like, okay, $50, vengeful spirit. And they're like, okay, let's go pay the sister a visit. And it's nice to see them working together again. And then Dean's cell phone rings. It's Lisa again. And Sam's like, answer it. And then Dean actually does answer it. And he's like, Lisa? And who's on the phone? But Ben, who's a little more grown up now. You're like, oh. And Ben is like, finally, like, I've been calling. And Dean's like, Ben, like, what are you? Ben's like, something's wrong with my mom. And Dean's like, what are you talking about? And Ben's like, it's bad, Dean. And Dean's like, define bad. And Ben's like, I don't know. She won't talk to me. And Dean's like, okay, put her on the phone. And Ben's like, she won't come to the phone. And Ben's like, get your mom and put her on the phone. And Ben's like, I can't. Her door's locked. She barely gets out of bed. I'm not kidding. Please come help me. I don't know what to do. And Dean's like, okay, I'll call you back. And Ben's like, Dean. And Dean's like, give me 5 minutes. Or outside the Mannequin factory, they're walking to the car. Dean's like, I don't know what to do. I can't just leave. And Sam's like, you gotta go. You gotta leave. You gotta see if he's okay. And Sam's like, yeah, but like, we're talking life or death, like here with this case. And Sam's like, I can handle it for 24 hours. I get you want to bury it, but I had to deal with my past year. You have to deal with yours. And
which is so real, honestly. And like, this is another moment where I'm like, thank God Sam is back and we have
Ugh.
someone who has any sort of modicum of like actual emotional maturity. And like, even if you don't necessarily agree with like the way he's going about it, or like if you do think like, oh, maybe they should focus on whatever, it's like at least that's like a logical, like intelligent conclusion to come to, and
Yeah.
like good reasoning. God, it's so sad when you're just like, thank goodness the characters are being reasonable. And that's like the thing that makes you excited about the show.
Again, we have existed on a drip feed of logic and sense. So we're like,
Yeah.
give me my crumbs. So
Yeah. You just kind of low key. That sounded like a Donald Trump impression. Give me my crumbs. That
I
sounded like a
can't
bad Donald Trump impression.
I can't even redo it now. Okay. Dean goes, oh yeah, and that works so great for you. And Sam's like, come on. So Dean gets into the Impala and he goes. Sam, cut to, he's at the sister of the seamstress's apartment. Her name is Isabel. And he's like, so you and Rose were close? Isabel's like, yeah, our parents died when we were little. We only had each other. And Sam's asking her, again, really nice to see Sam being back. He's the person. He's very personable, right? So he's like, what was she like? And Isabel was like, she was kind and giving. She had the biggest heart. But, people gave her a hard time. And Sam's like, well, why? And she's like, she was just shy, a little awkward, made her an easy target. I feel like I've been defending her my whole life. And Sam's like, well, I'm sure she appreciated it. And Isabel was like, well, it went both ways. She did more for me than anybody else ever could. I just miss her. And Sam's like, oh, may I? And he's looking at a photo album on the coffee table. And Isabel's like, sure. Like, this is the company Christmas party from a couple years back. And Sam's like, oh, you work at Salzman and Sons, the factory too. And Isabel was like, well, everybody around here works at the factory. And that's Rose. And they show the picture. And somebody very familiar is in the picture. We cut to the outside of Isabel's house. Sam's on the phone with Dean. And he's like, so get this. The college janitor worked at the factory until last year. He quit right after Rose's disappearance. And Dean's like, okay, so something happened to the girl around that factory. And that's got to be like ground zero of whatever's happening. So Sam's like, but it doesn't explain how the ghost ended up at the college in another zip code. And Sam's like, okay, I'm going to go to the factory. I'll call you when I get the scoop. We're at the factory. And Sam is talking to another guy. He's another sanitation worker at the factory. His name is Johnny. And he's like, so how long have you been here with the company? The guy's like, oh, I've been here about 3 years. I'm sorry. Like, what does this have to do with me? And Sam's like, this is just a routine questioning. And this Johnny guy looks nervous. And he's like, okay. Sam's like, well, did you know Rose Brown? And Johnny's like, oh, maybe the name sounds kind of familiar. And Sam's like, she was a seamstress here. She went missing about a year ago. Do you mind taking a look? And he pulls out a photo of her. And Johnny's like, yeah, I saw her around. And Sam's like, anything you can tell me about her that might help? And Johnny's like, look, I'd love to help, but I don't know anything and I'm about to be late for my break. And Sam's like, you seem nervous, Johnny. And Johnny's like, well, those guys that died were my friends. Of course I'm going to be upset. And Sam said, I didn't say upset. I said nervous. And he gives him his business card and he's like, this is in case you remember anything. And this is when you know the real Sam is back. He got his ass.
He didn't need to be soulless to pick up on that.
Like,
it just goes to show that Sam was there the whole time.
That's my boy.
That's my princess.
So we're outside Lisa's house. Dean rings the doorbell and Lisa answers, dressed in a very nice black cocktail dress.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, Dean, what are you doing here? And Dean's like, well, you look absolutely fine. And Lisa's like, what is going on? And Dean just goes, oh, we've been parent trapped. This part is really sad. I'm laughing, but this part is really sad.
No, it's also, this part.
It's heartbreaking.
It's really sad, but I'm also like, this is...
we'll talk
crazy.
About it more.
This is just like, I'm just like, come on now. Because also, like, I know that it was like when Dean last saw Lisa, it was like, oh, he said like there was more going on at the time. And she said, okay, but like your shit is too fucked up to be around my kid. Which is like, yeah fair. So I don't know. If I was her, I would be like, okay, goodbye. Like, leave again.
Yeah. So she's like, what? And Dean's like, Ben sent out a 911. And she's like, why would he do that? And Dean looks at her outfit and he's like, you're going on a date. And Lisa's like, oh God, okay, come in. So they're in her kitchen and he's like, do you want to sit down? And she's like, not so much. Like, clearly she doesn't want this to be a long conversation. And he's like, so who's the guy? And Lisa's like, who's the guy? His name is Matt. He's a doctor. And Dean's like, oh, Dr. Matt, how respectable. And my first thought was, Lisa and Dean have the same type.
Oh my god. Shut up. He's like, is he hotter than Dr. Sexy MD? Quickly.
Yeah. I here's my hot take. I think Lisa has clocked that he's bisexual. I think that they would watch TV together and he would say certain things and she would go,
She goes, my boyfriend's a little gay, isn't he?
He hasn't figured that out yet, but I support him.
Yeah, it's fine.
And Lisa turns to him. She's like, really? That's how this is gonna be? Again, I love Lisa. They really do her wrong in this show. And Dean's like, look, and Lisa's like, I called you 6 times, Dean. And Dean's like, I almost called you back 100. And Lisa's like, yeah, okay, good to know. Dean's like, Lisa, Ben called me. I dropped everything and I ran. If you want to know if I care. And she's like, okay, well, it doesn't really help me. And Dean's like, what do you want from me? She's like, I'm not really asking for anything. And Dean's like, well, then ask for something. And I'm like, oh, this hurts. And then Ben is like, and he's in the corner. And Dean goes, go to your room. And Lisa's like, go to your room. And clearly she's like, you can't tell him to do anything anymore.
You can't be saying shit. Honestly, good. Like,
yeah. And Lisa's like, I can't. I can't ask you for something. I know what I want. I can't have it. Not how you live. My phone rings, I think. Tiny chance it's you. Big chance it's Sam calling me to tell you you're dead. And Dean's like, oh, come on. She's like, no.
And, there really is, like, another little chance he's going to show up and push your kid into a wall. But,
yeah.
we can move along from that, I guess.
Yeah, I was like, And Lisa's like, no.
Maybe it's like, maybe it's more about, like, hey, girl, like, your lifestyle is... what I would not have given for Lisa to be like, listen, it's because your lifestyle... like, it is dangerous, and like, I was happy to do long distance and like whatever, but like when you bring it home and it hurts my kid, like, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Like, that was the whole thing. Like, this is a fine scene if you removed that context, but I'm like, I'm sorry, if you smack my kid,
it's almost like they were embarrassed by that, and they were like, I don't know what to do with it, we're gonna gloss over it.
Yeah. And I know it's like, Dean obviously didn't do it like on purpose, but like, still, like, regardless of what happened, it's like, if your lifestyle is gonna lead you to being in that situation.
Yeah. So she's like, don't apologize or anything. I get to this place where I'm okay. Then you show up at my door. You keep doing that every time. I think I'm never gonna see you again. I'm trying to get over you. What are you trying to do? What do you want from us, Dean? And she kind of got his ass.
Which is also crazy, though, because Ben did call and say there was an emergency.
Yeah.
So, like, he didn't just show up because he was like, yippee, I'm gonna cause problems. He was like,
I thought there was a problem.
I thought you were seriously ill.
So we cut to the factory. It's nighttime. Johnny is there cleaning. He's on the phone. And he's like, why am I flipping out? I don't know. Maybe because of the feds? Because Dave and Steve are freaking dead? No, just call me later. Blood starts dripping from his forehead. We know what's going to happen next. He is about to be attacked. You could see his breath is visible. And then Sam jumps in, is like, come on. And Johnny's like, what? Like, what's going on? And Sam's like, that was a ghost trying to kill you for being a dick. And John is like, what? Johnny. And Sam's like, you know what? You're lucky you were the most suspicious interview of all time. I figured something like this would happen. And Johnny's like, huh? Like, you figured that? And Sam's like, buddy, I don't have time for the big speech. So, brass tacks, Rose is back. And Johnny's like, that's crazy. She's dead. Sam's like, look, you're going to end up like your friends unless you tell me what you did to Rose. Do you want me to help you or not? And Johnny starts panicking. He's like, it's just a stupid joke. I mean, you play jokes. I didn't think it was a big deal. And Sam's like, what? What did you do? And Johnny's like, okay, we made Rose think she had a secret admirer. I don't think the girl had ever been asked out in her life. We just thought it was kind of pathetic. We knew she would take the bait. She was so excited. The poor girl never saw it coming.
Y'all can't be adults doing all this.
It was generally like, this is the most mean-spirited thing I've ever seen. like genuinely diabolical. So
Oh,
we cut to a
literally.
flashback. We see them having like lunch and they're laughing as she's like opening her locker and seeing like a note and roses. Like clearly they have set up that she's getting a secret admirer. And then one day they send her a note saying like, you know, meet me at this apartment. She goes in and there's a guy sitting at a table. She goes to say hello to him. It's actually a mannequin dressed up waiting for her. And they all kind of jump out of the shadows and start laughing at her. And in the flashback, Steve is like, look, Rose, I think he likes you. And in the present, Johnny's like, listen, it was mean, but you know how it is when a group of guys get together, you know, they act like jackasses. We cut
Sam's
back.
like, Sam's like, so no, actually, I don't know how that is. Like,
Sam's like,
that's crazy.
Damn, that's fucking crazy.
So that seems like a you problem.
Yeah. And we cut back to the past. Steve's like, oh, don't be like that. And Johnny's like, come on, Rosie, it's just a joke. And Rosie's like, go to hell. And in the present, Johnny's like, it happened so fast. Rosie turns around to leave, and Steve grabs her wrist. And he's like, hey, it was a joke, Rosie, like, seriously. She kind of, like, pulls her hand away, and she falls. And she just bashes her head on a table, and she falls to the floor. And she's clearly dead. It's an accident. And Johnny's like, in the present, he's like, we didn't mean for it to happen, and then it was too late. And we cut back to the past, and Steve's like, what are you doing? And Johnny's like, I'm calling the cops. And Steve's like, are you crazy? And Johnny's like, well, it was an accident. And Steve's like, we tricked her here. I grabbed her. That's involuntary manslaughter at least, and that's if they even believe us. Do you understand? So we cut back to the present. Johnny's like, Steve said there was only one option. I wish I could take it all back. And Sam's like, yeah, I'm sure you do. And Johnny's like, I didn't kill her. Sam's like, okay, look me in the eyes and tell me that none of this is on you. I'm not saying you deserve to die, and I can help you, and I'm going to help you, but like, what the hell? So Johnny's like, how? Sam's like, you have to tell me where you buried her. And Johnny's like, in the woods, a clearing off Canyon Run Road. And so Johnny goes to go with Sam, and Sam's like, no, you're going to stay here. You're not going anywhere. And Johnny's like, I can help. And Sam's like, no, you need to stay inside the salt line until you're safe.
Sam's like, girl, what are you gonna do? You didn't even know ghosts existed until 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. And Johnny's like, you just want me to stand here? And Sam's like, consider getting off easy, you dumb bitch. It was very funny.
Yeah. Honestly, Sam should have just, Sam,
yeah. He should have killed that guy.
Listen,
anyway.
No, I agree with Sam. I don't think, listen, I don't believe in the death penalty. And I don't think that being mean warrants
I think he should have allowed the ghost to kill him.
Well,
who said that?
I'm just like, this guy, like, that's just like so mean. I mean, it really is like a return to form for Supernatural. Like, it really does remind me of like one of my favorite episodes, Dead in the Water, where it is just like some stupid idiots doing something stupid and then getting their
Isn't that a Sarah Gamble episode?
I believe it
and this is when Sarah Gamble was the showrunner?
Sarah Gamble, I'm so sorry that they didn't let you just do Dead in the Water every single episode.
So we cut to Ben's bedroom. Ben is playing on, is it a PSP or is it more of like a iPad
like
or iPhone? He's playing on an
iPhone.
We're hip now. He's clearly playing Plants vs. Zombies. Because Dean goes, well, that's ridiculous. Plants could never kill a zombie.
I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Ben doesn't even look at him. He's like, you think I'm going to say I'm sorry? And Dean's like, why would I think that? Because you lied to get me here. And Ben is like, it was an emergency. And Dean's like, okay, a date is not an emergency, Ben. And Ben goes, it is if it's the third one. I watch TV. I know what that means.
Oh, Ben.
Girl. Dean's like, okay, well, your mom's a grown-up. She gets to go out and do things. And Ben's like, why won't you come home? Can't you just say I'm sorry and then come back? And that's where I was like, oh, my heart is breaking. Dean's like, I'm sorry. I can't. And Ben's like, can't or won't? And Dean's like, you know what? Both. And Ben's like, so you hate mom now? And Dean's like, no, like, of course not. And Ben's like, so it's me? Which is like, oh.
Maybe this is me being too child of divorce core. But when Ben was talking, I was like, girl, stand up. Honestly, like,
Well, to be fair, I think it's different than being a child of divorce because Dean is like Dean came into his life later.
Girl, I'm a child of divorce from a like. Listen, I've been in Ben's shoes. Is all I'm saying.
This is where Ben is like, so it's me, and Dean is like, no, Ben, like stop it, and Ben is like, whatever I did, I'm sorry. And this is where this scene hurts because this is where Dean steps up to the plate and says what a parent should, where he's like, listen to me, you didn't do anything, you understand that? Look, one day you'll get this when you're older. And Ben's like, don't talk to me like I'm 6. And Dean's like, fine, it's like this then. Just because you love someone doesn't mean you should stick around and screw up their life, so I can't be here. And Ben's like, you think something would follow you home? And Dean's like, no, I don't. But I think my job turns me into somebody that can't sit at your dinner table. And if I stayed, you'd end up just like me.
Oof,
I
brutal.
And then Ben goes, why do you say that it like you're so bad? And Dean's like, well, trust me, I'm not someone you want to aim to be. And Ben's like, don't I get a vote? And Dean says, no, you don't. I'm sorry, Ben, but you see, this way you get a shot at living whatever life you want. You know, pick one, pick 5. Because with me, there's just the one road. Knowing what happens to him at the end of this show, this one hurts.
That is, yeah.
Fuck this show. Ben goes, you're a liar, Dean. And Dean is like, excuse me? And Ben's like, you say family's so important, but what do you call people who care for you, who love you, even when you're a dick? You know you're walking out on your family, right?
Girl.
They got him.
See, this is brutal because I'm just like, this whole scene, I think I was also just so like, I'm almost like, the problem is that I'm like, I just maybe don't understand like the purpose of this scene within the narrative. Like, I think it's a fine scene, and I think it is trying to have Dean have closure with Ben, because he never really got that.
I think that's the whole thing, is that they're trying to wrap
Yeah.
up the Ben and Lisa story, which I'm like, oh, so
But
you
they
guys
also
can't.
do more later with it too.
Yeah, that's
I
kind of
don't
why it's
know.
annoying. I
think it's like, it's not necessarily a bad scene. I almost just feel like it's like, if this had not been the like, I just think the fact that they're not acknowledging the fact that Dean came home when he was like almost a vampire and then was like pushing him around, because I'm like, that's where I'm like, okay,
it's
like
very
that is,
weird.
it's not even that it's weird, it's just that I think you're right in that it was like, okay, like we have bigger fish to fry and we don't want to make too big of a deal out of that. But I am just like, that felt to me so like unrealistic that no one would mention it. And I'm like, I'm not watching Supernatural for realism, but like I would have liked
Yeah.
for it to have been like for Dean to, I feel like the problem with a lot of shows is that sometimes the characters like mince words in a way that is fine and entertaining. But I think that it would have been nice for Dean to have a point where he's like, listen,
I'm
I
sorry.
had
Yeah.
this I'm sorry that I did. Yeah, the fact that he never really even said like, I'm sorry that I came home and put you in danger like that.
Yeah,
Like, I'm like, I feel like Dean, like, not to say I'm like, oh, he's not hurting, but I'm like, I feel like he should feel more guilty for that specifically. Not just
yeah.
for like, oh, you're gonna become me, but like he's like, oh, you think something's gonna come home? Yes, like
Well,
something will
and
come home and hurt you. Like that is, and I hate to say it's another example of this show like not quite knowing what it wants to say. Like it knows
yeah.
what it wants to say, but it doesn't know how to convey it in a way that makes sense. Because it's like, you know, you want to tell me that Dean's not worried about something coming home and hurting them. He's more concerned about him turning Ben into him, which I think is not necessarily like what would happen because Dean's mindful of it. The problem is that the show shows that like things will come home to hurt them. Like this is the second time now
Yeah.
a monster in some form or another has hurt Ben and Lisa.
Yeah. It's also wild to me because there's always a difference between what they're trying to say and what they actually say. That is the crux of the problem with this damn show. I also just want to point out that this is a very eldest daughter moment for Dean, because what is more eldest daughter core? This was my moment where I was like, oh, he just like me for real, being like, the generational cycle stops with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I was like, ah! Uh-oh. Like, I don't want to have kids because I want it to stop with me. And I was like, oh my God, so true, Dean. Even though you should be focusing on apologizing to this child.
Yeah. But that being said, I don't think it's like a bad scene. And I do think
Yeah.
if you had removed that episode where he came back and did that, I think
Yeah.
this would be a pretty good scene. Like if
Yeah.
you just take the context from like the beginning of the season.
I also want to point out, and I mentioned this slightly earlier, that we're focused a lot on Dean's whole thing with Lisa in this episode, but a key part of like half of this season has been if Sam comes in contact with his memories from hell, he's cooked, and he basically woke up, refused some Excedrin, and then he was fine. And we don't cover it any further at all
Well,
in this episode or later.
Really?
He's just
They
like,
don't cover it. They do cover it later, don't they?
I
think
think
they
he
do.
gets flashbacks, but like he's basically like, okay, I'm
Well,
good now.
the wall didn't come down. It's just that the wall got that maybe got a little too close to something, which does seem
I thought
to
it
be
came
like
down.
No.
Oh,
No, I
because
think it was
he
just
thought he
that-
remembered.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing is why I think maybe the wall is not a good metaphor because I think it's not a wall. Like he can still get
Yeah.
memories of it, but I don't think that the wall is like down because I think that would be like catastrophic. Like I think it's still holding it back, but it was almost like dare I say a
I just was
crack
like-
in the wall because there's
Yeah.
more to it than that. I remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember. So we cut to
Excuse me.
Sam has found where they buried Rose. He's on the phone there. He's already burning the corpse, and he's like, "Okay, it's over. You're safe." He's clearly talking to Johnny on the phone. Look at this as a new beginning. Lots of chances not to be a jackass. We cut to Johnny. He's in his apartment. He's talking to someone. He's like, "Jenny, hun, we're leaving tonight. Pack up. Just the essentials. All I want is for us to move on with our lives. I love you. You know that it's been really hard, Jen." And it cuts to it pans to who's Jenny that he's talking to? A full life-size sex doll. We all know where this is gonna go.
Uh-oh.
We cut to Johnny's
It be
apartment
your
in the
own.
day. Yeah, we cut to Johnny's apartment. Also, don't her eyes move?
Yeah,
Like
they-
her
as he
eyes
walks
move, and then
by.
you
Oh,
know his ass
God.
is got. We cut to daytime. It's Johnny's apartment. It is a crime scene. He is dead. Sam sees the sex doll, calls Dean over.
I like the idea. He died in an unrelated accident.
Sam tries to call Dean, gets his voicemail, and Sam's like, okay, it's not over. Burning the remains didn't stop her. She's got to be hooked to something else. I gotta go talk to the sister again. Call me. He's back at the sister's apartment. He's going through Rose's stuff, and he's like, is this it? And Isabel's like, yeah, I gave most of her clothes to Goodwill. She didn't have much. And he sees some books on the table, and some textbooks, and he's like, oh, are those yours? And she's like, yeah, she's in school. And he's like, where do you go to school? And she's like, oh, at Great Falls. And he's like, let me guess, you were at the chem lab and the factory this week. And she's like, well, yeah. And he's like, did you happen to stop by a bar called McOwen's last night? Which in the previous scene, before we showed Johnny in his apartment, it showed a bunch of people from the factory, including her, going into this Irish pub called McOwen's, and then it panned up to his apartment, which was above it. And Isabel's like, yeah, everybody from the factory goes there. I stop in maybe 3 times a week. Why? Sam's like, okay, this is all about you. Isabel's like, what? He's like, the murders, your coworkers, your college janitor. Isabel's like, what? You think I would do something like that? And he's like, no, okay. I do think you're at the center. And she's like, what? He's like, are you wearing something of Rose's? A ring, a bracelet, her baby teeth, and a locket? And she's like, okay, you're scaring me. He's like, okay, what are you wearing of Rose's? A ring, a bracelet, her baby teeth, and a locket. What? And she's like, okay, you're scaring me. What do you have of Rose that you carry with you? And she's like, well, the only thing I have of hers is a part of me. When I was 16, she gave me one of her kidneys. And Sam's like, what? And she's like, okay, will you tell me what this is about? And he's like, okay, yeah, all right, I'm gonna need you to come with me. He shows up in
chat. We are so cooked.
Chat, we are so cooked. So he shows up in some stolen car with her in the passenger seat. They're in front of some store. He meets up with Dean, who's in the Impala. They get to talking. She's still in the car. Dean's like, so that's the girl with the haunted kidney? And Sam's like, yeah. And Dean's like, well, you think you've seen it all. You think that they would have had a situation like this before. So Dean's like, so what do you want to do? We can't exactly burn it. She kind of needs it. And Sam's like, okay, well, she can't just walk around with it. The spirit is attached. It's going to use her to get close to anyone it wants revenge on. It's not going to stop killing. Which I'm like, okay, Dean, there's a set number of people. I don't think, okay. So Dean's like, what do you suggest we cut it out of her? And Sam's like, oh yeah, and leave her in a tub of ice with a phone taped to her hand. And Dean's like, maybe we should call Dr. Robert. If we recall, this was the black market doctor that they went to when they had to stop Dean's heart so he could go meet death, you know. And he's like, might have some leads on some non-haunted black market replacement kidneys. Sam's like, he works out of a butcher shop.
I
Dean's
don't
like,
know
well,
if I need Freddy Krueger touching up on all my organs and stuff, so.
yeah. And Dean's like, well, it's pretty clean. You'd be surprised. And Sam's like, no, we have to go hoodoo. And again, this is where we go, that's not for you to play with, Sam.
Yeah, not yours.
And Dean's like, hoodoo? That's more of a band-aid, not really a cure. Sam's like, yeah, but it buys us a minute. And Dean's like, okay, we're going to Louisiana. Isabel has gotten out of the car.
Might I say, it does seem like everyone from that situation is dead, too.
Yeah.
Like, that was my thinking, is I was like, oh, well, it's probably over now because, like, everyone's gone. That was what happened with Dead in the Water, remember?
Yeah.
Sorry, not to keep referencing Dead in the Water, but it was like, they got all of the guys, and I think that was, like, the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there are some ghosts that then linger and start targeting other people. But,
Yeah,
you know,
maybe it
once
would just
Isabel dies, there's nothing to connect. You know, there's nothing that I don't know. It just, don't ask too many questions, okay? So Isabel has gotten out of the car. She overhears them. She's like, voodoo? What the hell are you talking about? And Dean's like, actually, it's hoodoo. It's a little different. And Sam's like, okay, hold on, Isabel. She's like, you guys are not feds. And they're like, let's explain. Before he can do that, the Impala revs up by itself. And Dean's like, no way. This can't be happening. And Isabel's like, what? What is happening? Dean's like, no, she possesses sex dolls. This is not a sex doll. So there's an implication here.
No, there's not an implication here.
I think they want to be making a joke about this, and you're just like, Dean's like, leave baby alone.
I don't think that's the intention.
I mean, they do make jokes about it a lot.
Well, yes,
Dean.
but
he's like, you leave my baby alone. She's got nothing to do with this. And then the Impala starts driving at all of them. And he's like, go! And they're all running around. And Sam's like, okay, Isabel, get into the other car. Seems like Dean is like running around.
Dan.
No. Dean's like, son of a bitch. And he stands in front of the store that they're in front of. And he's like, I'm so sorry, baby. And the Impala charges at him and he jumps away at the last minute. And it crashes into the storefront. And it's stuck. And Sam's like, okay, you all right? And Dean's like, yeah, I'm good. And they turn to Isabel and she's like, and there's blood pouring out of her mouth. There's a giant glass shard sticking out of her stomach that has clearly gotten her kidney. And Isabel's like, oh my God, hey. Suddenly, who appears but Rose's spirit? She sees that her sister is dying and she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this. And then her spirit goes up in flames. So,
well, you know, as sad as that is, I mean, how fortuitous, right?
Yeah.
Like, lucky shot, huh?
I'm just like, did they leave her body there and then call the police? Like, what happened?
I mean, we don't, I assume so, right?
We cut to Bobby's.
They're like, let's finish the job. Let's get the kidney out of there and burn that shit too.
Yeah, imagine the true crime podcast that's like, this woman disappeared right after her sister disappeared, and there's no remnants of her body because they had to burn her body. Like,
yeah, I'm sure. I don't think they did. They probably did. Just, I don't know. I don't know if we're meant to think about it that hard.
Yeah. We cut to Bobby's scrapyard. Dean is repairing the Impala. Sam's like, well, how's it look? And Dean's like, well, considering she got carjacked by a poltergeist, it could be worse. Like, and he turns to Sam and he's like, you know, what exactly did we do? back there. And Sam's like, yeah, I'm not putting that one in the win column. And Dean's like, we saved a few dicks and we killed an innocent girl. I got a heartbroken kid and a woman who's so pissed at
You know,
me.
and might I add, you didn't even save the dicks. They're dead.
Yeah, there's only one alive.
No,
Oh no,
but I
he's
think
dead.
he died. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Great job, guys.
They saved him
You
for
did-
like 12 hours.
Yeah,
or
you
less.
guys didn't do anything.
Yeah. He's like, I got a heartbroken kid and a woman who's so pissed at me. I see what you mean about facing your past. It's awesome. Thanks. And Sam's like, come on, Dean. And Dean's like, all we do is make a mess. And Sam's like, that's not true. We save lives now and again. And Dean's like, yeah, well, I guess I'm just tired of all the bad luck. I just want to point out that at the beginning of the show, they broke all those goddamn mirrors and then all this shit happened.
Oh my god!
I'm just
The
saying.
idea of this is all a repercussion of that is really, really good.
It would fucking make sense in the lore of this fucking show.
Oh, I need that in season 16. It's gonna be revealed that that's why all this shit happened to them.
Sam goes, well, you know, number one, bad luck is kind of in the job description. And two, it's not all bad. Really look at me. I mean, at least Satan's left the building. And Dean goes, yeah, it's the little things. Sam's like, and I have a soul because of you. I never thanked you for that, did I? And Dean's like, you know, it's all good. And Sam's like, well, thanks. And Dean's like, well, you would have done the same for me. Sam's like, I mean it. Look, we keep our heads down. We keep swinging. We lose some. Hopefully we'll win more. And I don't know. Anyway, for what it's worth, I got your back. And Dean's like, yeah, I know. And the episode ends. And you're like,
that was a very, like, despite how we're criticizing it, that was a really good ending to the episode.
Yeah, like, they were like, we're back in business, boys.
It really, like I said at the top, it really just does feel like a return to form. Like, it's like, yeah, there's a monster of the week, and then they have to deal with some, like, emotional, plot-relevant bullshit, but, like, the monster of the week is just kind of, like, there to reflect make them reflect on what's going on in their lives.
Yeah.
It felt like the good parts of the earlier seasons.
Yeah, this is a rare post-season 5 episode without Castiel that is actually quite decent.
Yeah.
No, also,
it felt
they were able to show, like, something violent happening to a woman without it being, like, sexual assault or whatever, which I thought was like a revenge. It was a revenge story, you know, your typical ghost revenge story without it being, like, gratuitously sexual or that she was being preyed upon. It was literally just that, like, she was being bullied. Which I thought was refreshing, weirdly.
Yeah. This just in, Klaudia loves it when women are bullied. No, but I think that I totally agree with you on that. And I also think it is, like, one thing that's good about this episode is that, like, yeah, it deals with, like, the meta narrative of, like, oh, you know, there's more bullshit going on that we have to deal with, of, like, you know, Sam is back from hell and his soul's all, you know, with the wall, all that stuff. Like, it does deal with that. But I do think that, you know, the show is better. And this kind of reflects what I was talking about, like, romance. And I don't mean this in the same sense, obviously, because I'm not talking about them as a romance or anything. But in the sense that I think some of the best shows, and especially the best procedurals, it's like the story, the thing they are doing, the procedure they are following has to be good and, like, stand on its own. Yeah. And the characters grow from that, as opposed to whatever they're doing being sort of a side plot in the grander narrative. And I think that's where Supernatural loses a lot of steam, especially later on, where it's like the narrative that they're in is so big that it's like, well, what's the point of them even doing all these little things when they have the literal apocalypse to stop?
Yeah.
Apocalypse to stop, yeah.
It's one of those things where when you rejoice in the actual genre that you are, that's when you get good stuff. So
yeah, I agree. I think it's like we need to get back to, and I think a lot of shows are like this now too. Like, there's a lot of procedurals that I think kind of lose the plot literally.
We're talking about 911.
Like, I'm not just talking about 911. I'm talking about shows in general. I think are very, like, focused on character driven stuff, which is fine. But it's like, if you want to be a character driven show, like, that's cool. And you can be a procedural that is character driven, but you can't lose track of the fact that you're a procedural first and foremost, and that's what makes the format work.
Yeah.
And I think that this is an example of that, where it's like, you know, in the lore heavy episodes, it's like if Cass isn't there or if a character we like isn't there, it's like, oh my god, this is such a bore.
Yeah.
But when it's this, it just feels different. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
One day we'll do a special episode with our spouses where we talk about House MD, because as I've talked about in the past, like there's a procedural that you liked as a teenager that shapes you, and mine is Supernatural, and my partner's is CSI and House MD, and we can get into some actual procedural bullshit.
Dude,
Not to talk about John Locke again.
We need to talk about like the procedurals. Ooh, we should do an episode about Castle.
Please, God. I do think eventually we should, like, whenever we finish Supernatural, we should talk about Merlin.
That would be just like a lot for me. That would be a lot for me. I've never seen the show. I don't know anything about
shit!
I also don't really know anything about Arthurian legend. Like, I know like the basics, but like
you don't need to know anything. That's the great part.
it might be better if I don't.
Jack.
Oh my god. We can't end this episode talking about fucking Merlin of all things.
We talked about Stranger Things, heated rivalry, fucking Merlin, Sherlock, Voltron. What happened?
Arcane. The Magnus Archives.
Like, we just keep going.
Guys, quick. Steven Universe. Anyone remember that? Sorry, just remembered Rebecca Sugar is writing a Moomin movie. I've never been more seated. I've literally never been more seated in my entire life.
So we want to thank you for listening. We want to thank you again for staying with us. You know, this was a bit of also a weird episode because we decided to talk about Stranger Things for 45 minutes. Okay, it wasn't Stranger Things. As you know, you can follow us on social media at Mysteries Podcast. We're on Blue Sky, Tumblr, Instagram, and TikTok. We're not always consistent about posting there, but if we have some sort of delay, we will hopefully post about it there. I should be better about that. But you can also always ask us questions in our Tumblr Ask Box, like, where the fuck have you guys been? And we will respond being like, don't worry, guys, we are not dead. We also have our email, themysteryspotcast@gmail.com. If you enjoyed listening to this very cursed recap or us talking about the state of streaming, rate the show, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. On Spotify, leave us a comment, even if you're going to tell us that we're stupid, and that we should never insult Byler again. No, start beef in our comments, because engagement works. Make some shit up.
That's maybe a strategy we need to tap into.
We got to get into rage strategy. Talk about something problematic that we did. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we can post something on X, the Everything app, that says like, and there's a reason that a lot of you don't like our show, and don't say what the reason is, so people can post the "I require context Wojak" in the comments.
Yeah. We also, this show uploads automatically on YouTube. If you're listening there, leave a comment and tell a friend about the show. You know, it helps a lot. We also have our official Mystery Spotcast playlist. We have that form in the show notes. We have Dusty L Fic Recs that you can give us. There's also a form for that. We're going to also put in the show notes all of the actual queer media that you should consume instead. We're also going to put some resources for if you are in the United States, unfortunately.
Shit's bad.
Shit's
really bad.
For, you know, figuring out what you should do in case you encounter the Gestapo. We're going to put some stuff that is from organizations that we trust in the show notes. And thank you for listening. See you 2 Tuesdays from now. Hopefully. For more slaying people, queer baiting things, the supernatural business.